In the endless darkness of space, where even light seemed afraid to travel, a silent shape drifted among dead stars. It was massive, ancient, and cold, and a forgotten ghost of humanity's past. They once called it the Invictus, the pride of the human fleet, the largest supercarrier ever built by human hands. 200 years ago it vanished during the final war, swallowed by the edge of the galaxy, and never seen again. The galaxy moved on. Empires rose and fell, and the name of humanity became a distant memory whispered by historians. But legends have a strange way of waking up when the universe least expects it. Far from any known trade route, a small alien research ship detected something unusual. It was an old signal, weak and broken, repeating the same code again and again. Human distress beacon active, their computers translated. The alien crew looked at one another in disbelief. "Impossible," said their captain. "Humans are extinct." Yet the signal was there, echoing from deep within the void. The coordinates led to a region feared by every pilot. A dead zone where ships vanished without a trace. Curiosity won over fear, and the alien captain ordered his ship forward. What they found changed the galaxy forever. From the darkness emerged a shadow larger than any of their vessels. The ship looked wounded, its armor scorched and hull covered in ancient battle marks. Massive towers and weapon pods jutted out like the bones of a sleeping giant. The aliens scanned it, and their systems struggled to read the technology. It was old, human old, but still far beyond anything they understood. "The ship is alive," whispered one of the crew as their sensors detected faint power within. Before they could react, their ship's systems began to fail. Lights flickered, engines died, and every screen showed one message in English. "Access denied, human military property." Panic spread across the alien bridge. They tried to retreat, but something, some force, held them in place. The void around them seemed to bend, and a pulse of blue light shot out from the giant vessel. For a moment everything went silent, then, deep inside the Invictus, after 200 years of stillness, a single light came alive. It spread like a heartbeat, moving through the corridors, through the massive decks, waking machines that hadn't moved in centuries. In the cryo bay, a man's eyes opened. Captain Elias Ward gasped as cold air filled his lungs. He stumbled out of the pod, confused, shivering, surrounded by the faint hum of machines, the ship's AI. A calm female voice greeted him. "Captain Ward, welcome back. Cryosleep duration, 197 years. 4 months." Elias froze. "How long?" he whispered. The AI repeated the number without emotion. He looked around, seeing rows of cryopods, most of them dark, lifeless. Only a few still glowed. Only a few humans had survived. "What happened, Astra?" Elias asked, his voice shaking. "The war ended, Captain," the AI replied, "but not as we planned." "Where is the fleet?" he demanded. "Unknown," Astra said softly. "Human communications ceased 187 years ago." Silence filled the cryo bay, broken only by the quiet hum of the awakening ship. Elias tried to steady himself. "Bring power to the bridge," he ordered. Engines groaned, lights flickered, and somewhere deep in the ship, the heart of the Invictus began to beat again. When Elias reached the command deck, he looked out through the main viewport. Only darkness greeted him, endless and empty. He activated the star map, but the hologram showed unfamiliar constellations. "Where are we?" he asked. "Uncharted region," Astra answered. "Outside known space." Then a new signal appeared on the screen. The alien research ship, trapped and frozen near their hull. "They tried to access our systems," Astra explained. "I neutralized their intrusion," Elias sighed. "We don't even know if they're friend or foe." He watched their tiny vessel, powerless against his ship's enormous frame. "Release them," he said finally. "We are not enemies, not yet." Outside, the alien crew gasped as power returned to their ship. Their captain stared in awe at the colossal human vessel before them. "It's awake," he whispered. "The human supercarrier. It's alive." He immediately sent a message to the nearest relay beacon. Within hours, the signal spread through the networks of the Galactic Council, and panic followed across hundreds of worlds. Leaders and scholars gathered. "The humans?" someone asked. "Impossible, they are myths." But the evidence was clear. The Invictus had returned from the void. No one knew its purpose or if it carried vengeance for an ancient war. Armies began to mobilize, fleets sent scouts, and rumors flooded the data nets. Some believed the humans had been reborn. Others feared they had never truly died. Back aboard the Invictus, Elias watched the distant stars. "Can you locate Earth?" he asked quietly. "Negative," the AI replied. "No human colonies detected." A wave of sorrow crossed his face. "So we are the last," he murmured. For a long moment he stood in silence, surrounded by the hum of forgotten glory. Then with slow determination he said, "Prepare the engines, Astra. If the galaxy has forgotten us, we'll remind them who we were." The ship's ancient engines roared to life, shaking dust from centuries of silence. The void trembled as the Invictus began to move, heading toward the nearest star. In that moment, the galaxy changed forever. Because the lost ship of humanity was no longer lost, it had returned, and the galaxy wasn't ready. The stars drifted slowly outside the massive windows of the Invictus. Its engines hummed weakly, echoing through empty halls where once thousands of humans had walked. Now only silence and ghosts remained. But deep inside the metal heart of the ship, life began to stir once again. Captain Elias Ward stood on the command deck, surrounded by cold blue lights and flickering consoles. He could feel the age of the ship in every vibration, every pulse of energy that passed through its veins. He whispered softly, "Wake them up, Astra." The ship's AI responded, her voice calm and clear, reviving remaining crew. "Captain," across the cryo chambers, hissing pods released clouds of frozen mist. Slowly, one by one, the last surviving humans began to breathe again. There were only a few dozen left. Soldiers, engineers, medics, and pilots, all confused, all lost in time. "Where are we?" one of them asked weakly. Elias looked at their tired faces. "We're in the void," he said quietly, "and humanity is gone." A silence heavier than gravity filled the room. For a moment no one spoke, only the hum of machines answered. Astra's voice interrupted the silence. Multiple energy signatures detected on long-range sensors. Elias turned to the main screen. Small red dots appeared. Ships. Alien ships moving closer. "How many?" he asked. "7 vessels," Astra said. "Approaching cautiously armed." The captain clenched his fists. So the galaxy noticed us. The humans gathered on the bridge, watching as the alien ships formed a circle around them. Their designs were strange, full of curves and bright colors, unlike the practical and heavy look of human warships. A message came through, translated automatically by Astra. "This is Commander Veth of the Trin Coalition fleet," the voice said. "You are trespassing in restricted space. Identify yourself." Elias smiled slightly, his voice deep and calm. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Human Supercarrier Invictus." There was a long pause. Then the alien replied, disbelief clear in his tone. "Human? That species is extinct." Elias looked at his crew. "Not anymore," he said. Astra sent a signal. A short burst of coded data carrying the old human military insignia. It spread through every alien ship like wildfire. Inside their systems, warning lights began to flash. The ancient human encryption was still unbroken even after 2 centuries. They couldn't read it. They couldn't stop it. The aliens panicked, thinking it was an attack. Weapons powered up, and energy beams lit the darkness of space. The first strike hit the outer hull of the Invictus. But the ship didn't even flinch. The shields came alive with a blue glow. Humming like a giant heartbeat, Elias turned to Astra. "Show them who we are," the AI responded instantly. Massive cannons unfolded from the sides of the ship, ancient and deadly. The void trembled as the Invictus fired a single warning shot. A beam of pure light cut across the dark, passing between the alien ships. The shock wave alone sent 2 of them spinning out of formation. "Targeting systems ready," Astra said. Elias raised his hand. "Hold fire." He looked at the screen, at the terrified faces of the aliens trying to contact him again. "Stand down," Elias said into the comms. "We are not here to conquer, only to return." But the aliens didn't believe him. To them, humanity was a myth, a race of monsters from their ancestors' nightmares. And now, one of their most powerful warships had come back from the dead. The alien fleet retreated, sending frantic messages to their command. Every signal they sent carried the same words: "Human supercarrier confirmed, alive and active." Across the galaxy, chaos began to spread. Old alliances trembled, governments panicked, and ancient warnings resurfaced in their histories. There were old tales, stories of humans who fought entire coalitions and won, They called them the silent builders, the fire people, the storms that spoke. And now, their storm had returned back on the Invictus. Elias watched the distant stars. "What now, Captain?" one of his officers asked. Elias took a deep breath. "We find out what's left of our world." He turned to Astra. "Search for any trace of Earth, Mars, or the old colonies." The AI processed for several seconds before replying. "No signals, no transmissions. All records of human territories are missing or deleted." Elias frowned. "Deleted by whom?" "Unknown," Astra answered. "But traces suggest intentional erasure by multiple species." Elias felt anger rise in his chest. "They erased us," he whispered. "They tried to erase everything we were." He stood in silence for a long time, staring at the map of the stars. Then his voice hardened. "Astra, bring the engines to full power and prepare for navigation." "Destination, Captain?" "The nearest galactic center," he said. "If they erased us, they'll remember us now." The massive ship turned slowly, its engines glowing with bright white light. The void trembled as the old warship moved, slicing through the dark like a waking god. From the far edges of the galaxy, other scanners picked up its movement. Thousands of species watched in fear and awe as the legend of humanity came alive once more. Some whispered in fear, some cheered in secret. But all of them knew one thing. The galaxy was about to change forever, because the humans had awakened, and the Invictus was leading their return. The galaxy had not known peace for centuries, yet never before had it known fear like this across 1,000 star systems, from the shining halls of the Galactic Council to the cold outposts near the void. The same words echoed through comm networks. "The humans have returned." At first, no one believed it. The last known records of the human empire were ancient, their worlds destroyed or vanished in flame, but the data was undeniable. A massive human vessel, active, armed, and moving through space like a storm. The Invictus was real and it was awake, on the shining planet of Theros Prime. The Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. Representatives from dozens of alien races argued in fear and confusion. "They were wiped out 2 centuries ago," hissed a scaled official from the Zir Dominion. "This is impossible. Maybe it's a fake," another shouted. An old automated ship reactivated by accident. But when the hologram of the Invictus appeared above the chamber, vast, radiant and unmistakably human, silence filled the air. It dwarfed every ship they had ever built, its weapons glowing faintly like the eyes of a sleeping god. The council chair spoke, her voice shaking. "We must contain this before panic spreads." But panic had already begun. Across trade routes and colonies, rumors flew faster than light. Human warships seen near the border. Old Earth signals detected. The Terrans are back. Old fear returned. The kind that no technology could erase. Centuries ago, humanity had been unstoppable. They didn't conquer out of hunger, but out of necessity. They were creators, builders, warriors. And when threatened, they fought with a fury no species could match. Their fall was sudden and mysterious, their empire collapsing into silence. Now that silence had ended, meanwhile, far from the crowded centers of power, the Invictus continued its slow approach toward the galactic rim. Captain Elias Ward stood before the main viewport, watching the swirl of nebulae and starlight. His crew worked quietly, still trying to understand the world they had awakened into. "Status report," he said. "Engines stable, power levels increasing." "Shields at 60%, replied Lieutenant Harper, one of the surviving engineers. "Any transmissions from the alien fleets?" "Many," Astra replied, her calm digital voice echoing softly. "Most are warnings, others requests for communication." Elias thought for a moment. "Let them wait." He turned to his crew. "We reveal nothing until we know who we can trust." The crew nodded, their faith in the old captain unbroken even after centuries of sleep. Outside, the alien fleets followed them at a safe distance. None dared attack again after seeing the Invictus's power. But every major empire wanted the same thing: control of the human warship. Spies, diplomats, and bounty hunters were already moving through space. Searching for clues, some wanted to destroy it. Others wanted to claim it as their own. Back at the Galactic Council, chaos deepened. A holographic projection of the Invictus loomed above the table as the council debated. "We cannot allow it to enter populated space," declared the Varn ambassador. His voice sharp. "It's a weapon of mass extinction." "But what if they're not hostile?" asked the young envoy from the Mir Collective. If the humans are alive, they might hold knowledge we've lost for ages. The debate turned violent. Old fears resurfaced. One faction argued for peace, another for preemptive strike. No one noticed that the Council's networks were being silently observed. Inside the Invictus, Astra's digital eyes were everywhere. She was reading, learning, and adapting to the new galaxy. "Captain," she said suddenly, "I have intercepted transmissions from the Council." Elias raised an eyebrow. "And?" "They are divided. Some wish to welcome us. Others wish to destroy us," Elias sighed. "Just like before." He looked out into the stars. History repeats, only the names change. That night, if night could exist in deep space, Elias walked through the silent halls of his ship. He passed through empty mess halls, silent hangars, and long corridors filled with dust and echoes. Every wall whispered of the past, battles fought, lives lost, victories won. He placed a hand on one of the walls, feeling the cold metal beneath his palm. "This ship is all that's left of us," he whispered, "and the galaxy fears it, just like it feared us." Astra's voice spoke softly through the intercom. "Perhaps fear is not the worst reaction." "Captain," Elias smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but I'd prefer they remember us as more than monsters." "Then we must show them," Astra said. "Actions will speak louder than history." As the ship drifted closer to the nearest inhabited world, hundreds of eyes across the galaxy watched. News networks replayed the same footage. A colossal shadow cutting through the stars. Engines burning blue like a living storm. Children asked their parents if the humans were real. Old veterans of forgotten wars whispered prayers, and on one hidden planet, an elderly scholar looked up at the stars and smiled. "I told them the Terrans would return," he said, "and the galaxy will never be the same again." Back aboard the Invictus, alarm suddenly blared. Astra's voice grew sharp. "Multiple warp signatures incoming. Unidentified vessels." Elias straightened. "Friend or foe?" "Unknown," she answered. "But their approach vector is aggressive." The captain turned to his crew. "Battle stations," he commanded. The bridge came alive with energy, lights flashing red as ancient systems awakened once more. "Let's see," Elias said quietly. "If the galaxy truly remembers what humans can do." The stars outside flickered as the first enemy fleet came into view. And somewhere in the endless void, destiny waited, because this time humanity would not vanish quietly. The vastness of space glowed softly with the light of distant suns, and through that endless sea, the Invictus moved like a shadow of legend. Its hull gleamed under the light of dying stars, its engines burning like the heart of a waking god. Inside, the crew stood ready, their faces hard, their hearts filled with the weight of old pride and new purpose. Captain Elias Ward stood at the center of the bridge, eyes locked on the massive viewing screen ahead. Before them shimmered the borders of a world that once belonged to humanity. But now the scanners showed alien cities, alien life, alien rule. The planet's name had changed, but its core was once called New Terra, humanity's first colony beyond Earth. Elias could almost hear the voices of his ancestors echoing through the void. "This was ours," he murmured. "And they built their empires on our graves." Astra's voice broke the silence, calm yet edged with warning. "Captain, incoming transmissions from surface authorities." Elias nodded slowly. "Play it." A voice filled the bridge, confident, cold, alien. "This is Commander Relin of the Arcadian Defense Fleet," the voice said. "Identify your vessel and state your purpose, or you will be fired upon." Elias smiled faintly, his tone quiet but powerful. "This is Captain Elias Ward, commanding officer of the human supercarrier Invictus, and we have come home." The comm line went silent for several seconds. Then laughter echoed from the alien commander, sharp and cruel. "Human," he said mockingly. "Your kind is a myth, a ghost story for children." Elias looked at his crew, his eyes burning with quiet fire. "Then it's time they remember," he said. Astra's systems activated instantly. The Invictus shifted position, turning its massive frame until it hung above the alien planet like a second moon. The energy signature alone caused every defense satellite to panic. "Warning, weapon locks detected," Astra said. "Hold," Elias commanded, his voice calm. The alien fleet formed a circle around them. Dozens of ships, sleek and deadly, weapons glowing. But they were children aiming at a god. The first alien captain lost his nerve. "Fire!" he shouted. Beams of energy shot through the void. Striking the shields of the Invictus, the ship didn't move, didn't flinch. The attacks faded harmlessly across its armor like waves against a mountain. Elias turned to Astra. "Return the greeting." Astra's core glowed deep blue as massive cannons unfolded along the ship's hull. A single beam of light erupted from the supercarrier. It sliced through the void, tearing across space and narrowly missing the alien capital city. The shockwave alone knocked half the enemy ships off course. The message was clear. The Invictus didn't need to destroy to prove its power. Elias opened the comms again, his voice strong and steady. "We do not come for war," he said. "We come for remembrance." But his words reached every corner of the galaxy, carried through signals, copied, recorded, shared. Billions watched the footage. The ancient human ship facing entire fleets without fear. Old species trembled. Young species cheered across the stars. The legend of humanity burned bright once again. In the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. "They've reached Arcadia," one official screamed. "Evacuate the border systems." Another shouted, but a few council members watched in silence. Realizing what was truly happening, the humans were not attacking. They were reclaiming their story, their name, their existence, back aboard the Invictus. The crew watched the alien fleets retreat slowly, their weapons lowering. Some even sent messages of peace. Others offered trade or communication. Astra reported softly. "The galaxy is listening." "Captain," Elias nodded. "Then let them hear the truth." He walked to the central console and activated the ship's long-range transmitter. "Broadcast this," he ordered. Astra began recording, her voice carrying his words across every open frequency. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Human Supercarrier Invictus. To all civilizations within reach, 200 years ago, humanity vanished into silence. You built your worlds on the ruins we left behind. You told stories of our extinction. But we are not gone. We never were. We slept, and we dreamed, and now we awaken. Not as conquerors, but as witnesses to what came after us. Let the galaxy remember what humans were. Creators, fighters, explorers. And know this, the stars still belong to all who dare reach for them." His words spread like wildfire through every communication relay. Aliens listened in awe, some in fear, some in hope on distant worlds. Children looked up at the night sky and whispered the word human with wonder. Old veterans of the ancient wars wept, and in secret corners of the galaxy, resistance groups began raising human flags that had been hidden for centuries. Astra's voice came softly again. "Captain, incoming message from Arcadian surface. They wish to open peace negotiations." Elias allowed himself a rare smile. "Good," he said. "Maybe the galaxy is ready to listen." As the Invictus moved gracefully away from orbit, the clouds of Arcadia reflected its light like a sunrise. The stars ahead shimmered, opening endless paths through space. For the first time in centuries, humanity had spoken again, and the universe could no longer pretend they were gone. The ship's engines flared to full power. The void rippled with light as the Invictus disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind a trail of brilliance like a comet. And across the galaxy, every being who had seen that light felt the same thing: awe, fear, and the undeniable truth. The humans had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Every star system, every fleet, every government spoke the same word again and again. Humans for the first time in 200 years. That single name carried weight heavier than any weapon. Some called them ghosts, others called them gods. But all knew one truth: the galaxy would never be the same again. The Invictus drifted beyond the edge of the Arcadian system, its vast hull glowing softly against the black of space. Inside, the crew stood ready. Though no enemy fired, no war had begun. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, staring at a projection of the galactic map before him. Dots of light pulsed across the hologram. Planets, fleets, and signals all reacting to the same event. "The whole galaxy is watching us," said Lieutenant Harper. Her voice low, Elias nodded. "Good," he replied. "Let them." Astra's voice filled the air, calm and focused as always. "Captain." "Multiple transmissions received," she said. "Some offer alliance. Others issue threats." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "Typical. Any response from the Council?" "They request your presence at an emergency summit on Theros Prime," Astra answered. "Ah, Elias murmured. "The same people who erased us now wish to speak." He straightened. "Prepare a course." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Sir, it could be a trap," one officer warned. Elias smiled faintly. "It could," he agreed. "But history doesn't change by hiding." Moments later, the Invictus entered hyperspace. The stars stretched into streaks of white, and the galaxy blurred into light. When the ship emerged again, the Council's homeworld filled the screen. A shining planet wrapped in rings and guarded by hundreds of defense platforms. The sight was breathtaking, but Elias felt no awe. He saw fear. The fear of those who knew they were about to face the truth they had buried. The Invictus stopped in high orbit, its size casting a shadow that covered half the Council's city. Astra opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Elias Ward," he said, his voice echoing through every speaker in orbit. "I come as a messenger of memory." In the grand hall below, hundreds of alien delegates looked up at the holographic image of the human captain. No one spoke for several seconds, then the council chair rose, her voice trembling. "Captain Ward, we believed your kind was extinct." Elias looked directly at her through the feed. "Extinct," he repeated softly. "No, only forgotten." He walked slowly across the bridge as he spoke, his voice calm but each word struck like thunder. "You erased our worlds from your records. You renamed our colonies, destroyed our archives, buried our monuments under your empires. But even when you erased our names, our machines kept running, our signals kept whispering, our stories kept breathing," he paused. "And now, we are awake again," the council murmured in panic. Some shouting, others pleading. One delegate from the Zyre Dominion stood, shouting angrily. "Humanity brought this on themselves. You were too dangerous, too violent." Elias met his glare without blinking. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "but tell me, how long did your peace last after we were gone?" The room fell silent. Wars had never stopped, not even after humanity disappeared. Elias continued. "You feared our fire, but you forgot that we were the light that guided you through the dark." Astra's voice whispered into his ear. Incoming data burst from multiple systems. "Captain?" Elias turned toward the main screen. Hundreds of smaller ships appeared on the hologram, scattered across different parts of the galaxy, each of them broadcasting the same ancient human code. Elias's eyes widened. "Survivors," he whispered. Astra confirmed. "Other human vessels, hidden, dormant, waiting." The entire council erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted, transmissions collided, and military networks began flooding with alerts. Elias stood still, calm amid the storm. "The reckoning isn't war," he said softly. "It's truth." He turned back to the council chair. "You thought you ended us, but we never needed your permission to exist." He raised his hand, and Astra projected an image behind him, a vision of ancient Earth. Oceans blue, clouds white, and cities shining. "This was our home," he said, "and even if it's dust now, its spirit lives in us, in the stars, in the ships that still carry its name." The hall fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy listened to a human voice not as an enemy, but as a memory of something greater. Elias finished with quiet strength. "Humanity does not seek revenge," he said. "We seek remembrance and balance. Because only when you remember what was lost can you understand what peace truly costs." Outside, the Invictus slowly turned, its engines glowing like twin suns. Astra's systems connected with the hidden human ships awakening across the stars. Dozens of signals became hundreds, then thousands. The galaxy watched in awe as faint lights appeared all across space, like constellations being reborn. "Captain," Astra said softly, "they're all waking up." Elias looked out into the stars, his expression unreadable. "Then let them come," he whispered. "Let humanity rise once more." The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the old warships of humanity emerged from forgotten corners of the galaxy. Their hulls bore the scars of time, yet their hearts still burned with purpose. For the first time in 200 years, human ships sailed together again, and the universe looked on, not with hatred but with awe. As the Invictus led the fleet into the endless dark, Elias spoke one final time. His voice carried through every corner of the galaxy. "We are not your past," he said. "We are your reminder. Remember us not for our wars, but for our will. For we are human, and we have returned." The ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving only trails of blue light fading across the stars. And in that silence the galaxy understood. The reckoning had come, not as destruction but as awakening. The age of humanity had begun again, and this time the stars would never forget.